There's some questions tonight surrounding the newest version of the Arena Football League.
Well, the league is getting some bad press after one of their teams actually pulled out just a couple weeks into the inaugural season. Maury Glover joins us now from the newsroom with details on this for us tonight. Maury?
Well, the Arena Football League is where players like Kurt Warner started before making their way to the NFL. But this latest reboot is facing some challenges.
Following the news about the Soul and the Voodoo after Week 1, questions flared up about the state of the Arena Football League to the point it gained national attention.
And arena football is taking place. Just go on X and just search like Arena League right now. And just start scrolling. They got a real Bush League shady operation cooking over there from what we've been told. Some teams have run up $25,000 bills at Super 8 motels, and the players are being told they have to pay that or get the hell. Guys are sleeping in cars right now in the Arena League. They're playing on arena football fields that have uprights that are like twisted and down. Pads not even covering all the walls in some of the photos. The Arena League's in a bad spot.
Very bad.
Okay, players get screwed allegedly, which is always taking place in these spring leagues. The players are the ones that end up having to suffer the whole blow. But we want to let everybody know, hey, we're pulling for you.
That's right. Good luck.
More football is better football.
Sure.
Even still to this day, Lee Hutton and CEO Travell Gaines have been mostly silent about the claims. Both have ignored Arena Insider's multiple requests for comment. On April 26, Gaines subtly posted on X, quote, "Believe nothing of what you hear and half of what you see," end quote. The situation after that weekend was addressed on the league's weekly podcast, but the comments this time around were unexpected.
So let me tell you right now, if you are one of those people that love to watch the world burn, you're going to continue to watch it burn. But if you're someone that enjoys football and loves to support players continuing their professional career, this is the league for you. And I know there's a lot of frustration over that, but would you rather have a half-hearted answer right now or a full explanation when things get fleshed out? I think I know the answer to that, especially as somebody who enjoys knowing the story and not getting pieces of it all over the place. So we wait patiently and we celebrate the players that took the field this week to play and had some fantastic plays.
After opening weekend, it was 24-hour news coverage among all the teams. Heading into Week 2, there were multiple game schedule changes. The Oregon Black Bears played a couple of home games at the Oregon State Fair and Exposition Center in Salem. There were cattle gates with padding on the sides. The rebound nets weren't standard and had internet issues that affected live updates and streaming.
There's a lot of backlash on social media that maybe, obviously it's warranted because of what the fences are. But I was thrown into it a couple times. Players were hit into it. Obviously they moved a lot more than they should, and the walls do need to get better. So let me go on record by saying, they need to improve. Oregon needs to improve that. But they were not as bad when you're thrown into it as what it looks. But obviously in the long term, you're still really you're still hoping that nobody really gets hit into it the right way and really gets hurt. So you're really kind of living on the dangerous side there.
The Billings Outlaws were scheduled to be heading there, but according to Titus, they were informed by the league to not play in Oregon because of safety concerns. Instead, the Outlaws were switched to be playing the Washington Wolfpack. But then the Georgia Force were moved to be on the road against the Black Bears, which caused confusion.
Well, dude, don't you know that all the owners start reaching out to me right away? All of them. And the weird thing is, the spin to the owners from Hutton was Louisiana is just a terrible safety issue. They can't play a game there. None of that was true, man. You could play right now on there. The net system was always our only problem. Okay? And the funny thing is about that, Anthony, you could send Georgia, who was supposed to play us last week, to Oregon to play with literal rodeo fencing for the dashboard system and 2 inches of padding. Or you could have came to Louisiana where there's soft boards, the dashboard system, and 4 inches of Sportex Arena Football 2 turf. Sportex Arena Football 2 dashboard padding. And you would think it's safer in Oregon? No. It's not any safer in Oregon. The problem is Oregon needed to win. They probably had more attendance in their week 1 than we did, or their exhibition game. And so Oregon gets Georgia.
The Voodoo and the Rapid City Marshals were given a bye week with no explanation from the league. On May 2nd, the Iowa Rampage were the first team to officially cease operations. Co-owners Trevor Burdett and Mike Taliaferro said they were unsure at first when the AFL approached them before the season, but they agreed to join the league anyway. In the letter, the owners said the league promised to cover travel to games and a significant portion of player pay. But as time went on, the owners say there started to be red flags and payments were never received. Players and coaches were also frustrated, not just with the league, but with the owners as well.
And we found out at the same time everybody else on social media found out. They didn't have the respect to come down and talk to us as men, and as professionals, and tell us to our faces like, man, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. Because after that, there was no getting a hold of the owner, the GM, nothing, man. Before that, the problem was getting us paid, We weren't being paid. Like they told us one day we were going to get paid. That day came, it didn't happen. Another day came, didn't happen. You know what I mean? Some guys are making their way home, and some guys are stuck here with nowhere to go. What's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong, and there's a lot of wrong in this. It's very sad. And, for me, I got my family out here. I got my kids. My wife was preparing and cooking meals for the team. My wife has labored, man, out here cooking for the team, man. She's prepared over 800 meals, she cried when all this was happening, man. It's very sad and unfortunate, we were sold on something that really wasn't what it was.
So with all that going on, the NFL Network deal and league-wide pay concerns, then Commissioner Lee Hutton was expected to address the AFL community on its YouTube channel on May 2nd, right after the Albany Firebirds and Nashville Cats game.
Going to throw to the end zone, pass is incomplete, and that's going to do it.
As people waited for the live stream, it was suddenly canceled and the event was removed from YouTube. That all but sealed the owners, players, and fans' trust in the leadership.
Lee needs to answer his phone. He needs to return messages. He needs to be in front of this. He needs to get out here and explain to our community and to the entire country what in the world is going on.
In last week's league meeting that was called, he promised that the players would be getting paid, the CIF contracts would be upheld, and that we would be on the NFL Network in week 2. Lie, 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 lie. All he has done as of late to the team owners that are in our league calls is lie and give continuous mistruths. Our teams are losing money because of his lies. Every Friday morning, we have an owners meeting. Lee Hutton didn't call the owners meeting today. He didn't even send an email saying he was canceling the owners meeting today. He didn't ask the owners if he should appear on the podcast, the AFL podcast last night or not. When you need a leader, they need to be at the front, showing you the way that it needs to be done and to lead us through any kind of obstacle or hurdle that comes our way. Lee Hutton is nowhere to be found right now. He won't answer calls. He won't respond to texts. He won't show up to league meetings. He's doing everything wrong that a leader can possibly do. And he needs to do the easy thing for the AFL to sacrifice, to ensure that we are not sacrificial and that we have any path of prosperity, and do the manly thing in this situation and to resign as commissioner. That's what the best thing that can happen to the AFL right now is if Lee Hutton resigns this instant as commissioner.
Heading into week 3, things started to quickly collapse around the league. On May 10th, Force quarterback Justin Arth launched a GoFundMe for his teammates to get home.
We got a text in our group chat saying that the team is folded and they don't have any money to pay us. We had just sent information to be paid and everything like that. So it's like a big question mark, what's really going on? And I think that's the biggest thing for a lot of us is that we don't really know what is going on. It's not really, because I'm a believer that, I don't like putting blame on people, especially individuals. But somewhere in the organization of everything, things failed. And it's a question of where it failed, what happened, and really what's going on, because we got lives, man. We real life grown men out here.
On May 12th, Rapid City Marshals players took a stand against the league and its owner by forfeiting its home game against the Billings Outlaws.
Players sat out because they had only been paid $250 out of the $1,000 per game that's promised in their contract. In the days since, a multitude of announcements have come from the league and from the Marshals. Most notably on Friday, half of Rapid City's roster left the team because they were told their wages wouldn't exceed $250 a game moving forward.
So the more that we started seeing the cracks in the walls and some of the things that seems like they were getting ignored by a lot of people, the more it became apparent that we had to act on it. The guys were proud that we stepped up and that we, stuck together as a team to write a message to the entire league.
Had we not done it in that way, I don't think it wouldn't have been felt as strong.
Also on May 12th, Minnesota Myth head coach Ricky Foggy and special teams coordinator Javon Herring resigned. The team then canceled its away game against the Albany Firebirds.
Being delayed 3 weeks on paying the guys and just everything leading up to that moment. And, it's always going to be, next day, the next day, the next day. And I don't know about you, but I don't like going to work and not getting paid.
So Diana Hutton, she's the owner of the Myth, in case people don't know. How involved was she with the team?
Leading up to it, she was pretty involved. She seemed very excited to be a part of this organization. She seemed motivated. She was all about, let's get in the community, let's do this, let's do that. The only thing is it had to involve no money from the get-go. I offered, hey, can we go to high schools? Can we do this? What if they want you to donate a couple $100? No. The answer was just no when it came to money. They didn't want to spend money on the extra clips for the pads. They didn't want to spend money on tape. The coaches, the equipment manager had to fund everything.
The next day, the Minnesota Myth informed its players to go home immediately and that it will cease operations, the fourth team to do so at this point behind Philadelphia, Louisiana, and Iowa.
In a statement to fans, owner Diana Hutton said in part, the promise of bringing another professional team to Minnesota was bright and filled with hope. Unfortunately, the effort was lost in the waves of negative chatter and misinformation that plagued social media.
While Deanna said there was pressure to force her husband Lee to resign, the remaining league owners and G6 Sports, who owns the identity of the Arena Football League, approached a different direction just a few hours later. We're following several different breaking news stories for our YouTube and podcast subscribers. As of Monday night, Lee Hutton III ousted as commissioner of the Arena Football League. Owners voted unanimously to remove Hutton and appointed current Nashville Cats owner Jeff Fisher as interim commissioner.
There will be a lawsuit coming.
Teams will not be a part of the AFL next year.
Today was kind of a sucker punch a little bit just because we've been feeling really good about the direction that we've been going.
One of their main concerns were that they're not getting paid and then they weren't playing under the right conditions.
Everybody's just working so hard to build this thing, and we have a chance to step back and see.
We have to see what's working, what's not working.
Now, the Arena Football League has picked New Jersey as its site for the upcoming Arena Bowl.
It's a work in progress, but it always is. We need to remember who we are.